The race for South Carolina House District 110 is now in a runoff between current State Representative William Cogswell Jr. and businessman Russell Guerard. I speak exclusively with Representative Cogswell for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Representative Cogswell, it's so good to see you.
Great to see you, Quintin.
I appreciate this, man.
Yeah, glad to.
Yes, indeed. From Tuesday to now, what is it like to be you?
It's like running around with my hair on fire, you know. We're busy. That's good, you know. I say we wished Tuesday's results were a little bit more in our favor. You know, we won, but didn't win by quite enough to avoid a runoff. So we've got another 10 days, and we want to campaign and get our message out and keep it positive, and hopefully the voters see it fit to send me back.
What is that message right now?
The message to the voters?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, it's similar to what we've been saying. I mean, you know, I've been a freshman up there, been up there for 2 years. I'm very proud of the record that I have up there and service that I've done. I mean, we've done everything from trying to restructure the government, and I was able to coordinate and convince the overwhelming majority of my freshman colleagues, both Democrats and Republican, legislators from the upstate, low country, Midlands, that it's time for restructuring our state government so that the legislature doesn't have as much power. And it's never come from within. It's a pretty monumental initiative that we've undertaken, and we're very serious about it. It's something I'm very proud of. And then, of course, on the other side, I mean, on the more specific side with regards to what I'm trying to do for my district, I mean, I'm trying to bring the money that some of the money that we send up to Columbia back here to the low country, because as you well know, Charleston County is the largest provider of revenue to the state out of all 46 counties. And we need some of that money back. We need a better return on our investment, because we've got infrastructure issues here that are proving to be very problematic.
You talk about infrastructure, and I'm looking here at the Rapid Hill Bridge as we sit here. But when you go beyond that and look at the Mondo Bridge, what is the future of that bridge in your mind?
I think, the corroded cable is problematic, but I mean, I am confident in what Secretary Hall has said, that the bridge is stable. Those things are way over-engineered, but it is a concerning sign on the longevity of that bridge. And these things, as you probably are well aware, a bridge like that takes years to design and plan for and appropriate the necessary funds to replace. And I think it's a high time we started really looking at our regional infrastructure plan and addressing it as a unified delegation in Columbia. That's one of the problems we've had over the past decade, really, is that the representatives, the House members and the Senate members from Charleston County, Berkeley County, and Dorchester County have not always been on the same page as to what the priorities are for our Tri-County region. And that's hurt us up in Columbia. And so we need to be more unified, and we need to get a clear message from the local government, from the local county governments, and from the local municipalities as to where their priorities are for infrastructure, so that we can then take the unified fight up to the State House.
You talk about the State House. Let me take you to Washington. Obviously, Katie Arrington is the Republican nominee for the 1st Congressional District. How would you work with her if you're reelected and if she's elected to Washington?
Well, I think she's going to be elected. And Katie is, if you don't know her, she is a workhorse and very smart. Very motivated, and I had a very good working relationship with her. I'm proud of her for doing what she's done, and I think that part of this equation on infrastructure, of course, a big part of this equation on infrastructure is what kind of federal funds we could get. And I think Katie will be an incredible advocate for that, for her district, for her constituents.
Right. And let me get back to the State House. Obviously, you and I have had discussions about SCANA and what's going on with the companies. A lot of people out there saying they haven't really heard from you on this issue. Where are you on this issue?
My opponent's saying that people haven't heard from me, but I think it's pretty clear if you look at my voting record that I have been a supporter of all the initiatives that the House has taken up in terms of repealing all of the premiums that SCANA has been allowed to charge its customers. I think it's almost criminal what they've been able to do and increasing rates, and I think that they need to bear the consequences of their actions, not the rate holders. We've done studies, the House has, Peter McCoy's done a phenomenal job, as has my good friend Mike Caskey and Kirkland Finley, who were on that committee set up by the Speaker. And they've done a phenomenal job uncovering a lot of this information that has come to light, and it's really come to light as a result of their efforts. So, you know, I've been there for all those votes and been a strong advocate for the initiatives that we've taken. I'm frankly very frustrated by the delays that the Senate has taken in preventing the House's bill from passing. I know this kind of gets into the weeds, but you know, we need to act on it, and I've been one of the leading advocates for making SCANA be accountable for their actions.
You talk about uncovering. What more do you want to uncover about this whole situation with SCANA and these other companies?
Well, you know, you want to know the truth, right? I mean, you want to understand what went on, when they knew things, and how did they react. I mean, we've learned that they were aware of issues that were going to impact the schedule and certainly the cost of the nuclear plant, and yet they were telling the PRC that everything was fine, and you know, but they needed a rate increase, and that's problematic. I mean, that fundamentally is, in my mind, being dishonest, and that's where you see, you know, we as legislators, we as a state need to make sure that that's their responsibility to take on the chin, not the ratepayers.
And let me go back to June 6th. You posted this on your public page for you as state representative. You said this quote, per the official records of the South Carolina House of Representatives, I have been present at 92 out of 104 days. Any and all things that are contrary or false. I'm proud of my service in Columbia on behalf of District 110 and will gladly stand by my record.
Sure.
Let's talk more about the record. What's right and what's wrong?
Well, you know, that's right, and that's an official record from the clerk of the House, and unfortunately I had to post that because I have an opponent who has, despite claims to the contrary, you know, just decided to run a very negative campaign and claim things that, you know, either aren't true outright or at best grossly misleading. And so that's the official record, and you know, he claims other things like that I've missed a number of votes. Well, you know, when you look at it, the reality of it is that's a very misleading statement. For example, when we vote for a slate of candidates for the board of a school, of one of the colleges in South Carolina, right? Which I think is a little ridiculous that the House of Representatives appoints board members to the colleges, but we do. So they'll read off a slate of candidates, right? And there are 3 candidates. Well, you can only vote for 1, so you have 2 most missed votes.
Okay.
So he's taking numbers like that and trying to spin it in a way that implies that I'm not present in Columbia. I'm not establishing relationships up there. And frankly, nothing could be further from the truth. And, you know, again, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed in him for running such a negative campaign. I think, frankly, the voters are turned off by it. And I I think it's not going to help him in this runoff.
And this is, okay, is that how you got to 42%? Because of these ads and these negative information?
You know, that's anybody's guess. I mean, I think unfortunately, a lot of people have things going on in their daily lives and aren't able to do a lot of homework on the candidates, and they'll see a TV ad that's run and is just so off base that it's almost comical. But you know, some people believe it. You know, that's the only message that they heard, or and so when they go in and they don't recognize any names and they've seen this negative campaign and they've not had an opportunity to research and find the facts out that refute it, well, you know, I don't doubt that it can be beneficial. But you know, again, this is a road I would never go down as a person or as a candidate. I just don't feel that throwing mud to try and serve in the State House is worth it to me. I mean, I think the truth will come out, and again, I believe and have confidence in the electorate. I'll also say that I'm a little frustrated when it comes to, you know, my opponent saying how he's all for ethics and transparency, and yet he's clearly spent an exorbitant amount of money on this negative campaign. Now, you can't buy TV ads for what he's claimed to have spent, which is zero in his last campaign disclosure. So, you know, I'm kind of curious where all this money's coming from to attack me with these misleading ads.
And let me get back to you. Can you reintroduce yourself? Who is William Cogswell Jr.?
Who is William Cogswell Jr.? Well, I am a husband, a father, I'm in business, and I'm a legislator. And I'm doing it because I think, in terms of the legislation, of being a legislator, I'm doing it because I think I can be and have been a real service to my district, which is, as we've talked about, a very critical district for the state of South Carolina. And but it's going through some significant growing pains. And growth is something that I know a lot about. It's something I've spent 25 years in my professional career studying. And it's something that I think I can really be of service and help my district see its way through.
I know you want to win this runoff, and obviously you got 42% of the vote this past Tuesday. But what would you consider a victory?
Actually, I got 46.
Excuse me, 40. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Confusing you, man.
Sorry. Yes, sir. You got 46. You got 42.
He got 42.
That's
yeah.
right. Sorry about that. These are numbers coming from the poll supporting unofficial results 100%. But what would you consider a victory in 2 weeks?
You know, I'm going to run an honest, positive campaign. And, you know, obviously a victory would be that I win. But if I don't, you know, I have a family, I have a day job, and, you know, I respect the process. That's what the voters decide, then that's what the voters decide. But I mean, we're going to really make an effort to make sure that all this negative campaigning, you know, doesn't misguide people, that they understand what's really happening, and what the real record is. And, you know, again, but in the end, I respect the process, and I'm pretty confident we'll come out as victorious.
What's that one word to describe the next issue you want to focus if you're reelected?
Growth. I mean, that is what we've got to deal with. Not only Charleston and Mount Pleasant, but for the Tri-County and for the state. This is a critical issue. It has obviously social impacts, has financial impacts, quality of life impact. I mean, you know, when you kind of go down the list of how critical this is, you can't overemphasize its importance. So I'm really committed to two things going back up there. One is to continue this effort to restructure the state government, because I really think that is a core problem that we have. And it is associated with the second major issue that I'm going to be focusing on, which is getting the appropriate funds for the Low Country to deal with infrastructure issues. And it's not just corroding bridges, it's also flooding relief for residents in downtown. So infrastructure means, covers a lot, and it's pretty critical.
Representative William Cogswell, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime.
Steve.
Yes, sir.